In 2013, a crack pop culture team assaulted the airwaves with a podcast they were wholly unprepared to operate. These men promptly ceased production and escaped into unassuming suburban lives in the Boynton Beach underground. Today, still sought after by at least 2 fans, they survive as podcasters of misfortune, aided by a shadow player from the slums of Towson, Maryland. If you want a podcast, especially one containing adult content, and if you can manage to get them to record more than 2 episodes a month, maybe you can listen to The New Way.
That gun looks more fitting for a woman.
Do you know much about guns, Mr. Bond?
No, I know a little about women.
You're hit. You're bleeding, man.
I ain't got time to bleed.
All right, Clanton. You called down the thunder, well, now you got it. Buddy, this is your fucking wake-up call, man. I am an FBI agent.
Everybody wants to be naked and famous. Everybody wants to be just like me. I'm naked.
Will you help teach me about this? What is it? A new way?
It's time for an action-packed, chock-full of bullets and babes episode of The New Way Podcast. Yeah. Yeah.
Action stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Whoa, sorry.
Greg, get
Greg
your dick
Klein,
away from me.
my God.
Wow. That's my fault.
Unfortunately, those of you at home cannot see the shock that just appeared on Greg Klein's face, but we have in the studio with us today on The New Way, coming to you from Boynton Beach, Florida, in the Last Pint Production Studios, the infamous Greg Klein, who we've mentioned, I think, in every single episode since we've come back.
Yeah, I think we're like 38 for 38.
Yeah.
Wrong.
We missed one.
I would be the only one that knows. And wrong. No, it's pretty close, I think.
That's pretty sad. But yeah, we are minus one once again, one Nick Santacroce. And
Travel schedules, man.
Which one is Ben? Which one is Nick?
I mean, it's like he's here with us right now, but unfortunately, he is traveling to the far reaches of the universe in Wisconsin.
I'm going there next week.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
God help you guys.
Why?
I don't know why you would do that on purpose.
I think next week is going to be you and Nick trying to do the thing again.
Oh, I was like, wait, I'm going to Wisconsin next week. I don't want to do that.
Next week we're recording the podcast from Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's a lot of equipment to take up there. But yeah, we have no Nick, but we do have Greg. But
we also have the Spider-Man gimbal or whatever. Like we Matt Schenk earlier attached a small Spider-Man module to Nick's dedicated microphone here.
Yeah, so it's like he's here, but also there is some slightly sad news I do have to go into before we start the podcast. I'm going to play something for you here. But it turns out Nick was right. Reginald VelJohnson passed away. And we put together this tribute to him, so just listen for you.
In a couple of weeks, Harriet, Eddie, Laura, Grandma, Aunt Rachel, Little Richie, and the other little kid are gonna get teleported to another dimension. And then Steve injects Carl with his own DNA, so Carl turns into another Steve Urkel. That's 2 Steve Urkels and no family on a show called Family Matters. How the fuck does that work?
He'll be missed.
It's in your brain. You can't get him out. Those horrible catchphrases over and over and over and over and over again. Did I do that? Did I do that?
Really just an underrated tour de force.
I was in Die Hard, damn it! Fuck Steve Urkel!
Reginald VelJohnson, not dead. No, Reginald VelJohnson, despite Nick's best efforts, still not dead.
Although apparently there were some Twitter rumors going around.
There might have been some Twitter rumors that Nick was somewhat, but I thought that's Nick's way of being involved in tonight's podcast.
Real stirring tribute.
By the way, I was so happy when I went on YouTube and I typed in
slow, somber Family Matters theme, and instantly some band who did the emo cover of the Family Matters theme, #1 hit on there. Just amazing. And thanks to Key and Peele for their spot on Carl Winslow sketch, if you have not seen where most of those clips came from. Those were not actually things Reginald VelJohnson
that was
said,
not,
just so you know.
And it was not even based on Reginald VelJohnson.
I was
You would
super
have to
confused.
listen. This is way. You have to. I mean, like Greg Klein, who listens to every podcast, is confused, and he's listened to the previous podcast.
I just didn't know the key. That was the key. That makes. I was like, I don't remember that episode.
No, Nick thought that Reginald VelJohnson was dead and said, rest his peace. But you know what? If they don't get the reference, maybe they'll be spurred to go back and look at things from that's from episode 30 something.
36.
Sure.
Yeah.
And if you don't find it there, try 37. We don't know. It could be any one of them.
Just start in 2017 and work your way forward.
Whatever you do, don't listen to anything before 2017. I tried to do that yesterday because I'm like, maybe we weren't that bad, and I was like, I can't believe we were not. We were pretty bad.
I think there were some that were better than others.
There were some that were better than others. The quality was very terrible.
Sure,
and you would convince me the quality was very good because you talked to somebody that did a podcast. I'm like, oh, your sound is pretty good. I'm like, really? Because I listened to it back, and it's like we're talking in tin cans.
Yeah. But everyone was talking in tin cans at that point. Now I listen to like other professional, like quote unquote semi-professional podcasts, people who actually have a lot of listeners, and some of them still sound like shit. Some of it's really still them going to places like to a restaurant and like slapping
Fucking Bill Burr, one of the funniest people on the planet, does it in his phone like 50% of the time still.
Yeah.
Sounds horrific. But he's hysterical.
Which is like,
so who cares?
And that's kind of amazing to me because, I mean, this, like, what's sad is that this setup literally is the same amount of money as we spent on those Yeti. Like, the Yeti mics were expensive. These mics are like $20. It's this thing that's the money, the mixer, but the rest of it's like, I don't know.
It's a pretty impressive setup now, though. It looks expensive.
It looks very fancy. If someone had not listened to us and didn't know who we were, they might assume, as did the guy that came to fix my Comcast home security, was like, "What are you recording in here?" And I go, "I make albums. I make the music." And he was like, "Yeah, what do I know any of your stuff?" And go, "I gotta go." Which also not the last time I wound up lying about what I do, because I brief shout out to David Crespo, who may listen, yes. I don't know or not, but I had to send beer out to Crespo yesterday.
Yeah,
and I go to UPS. And
first off, that's your first mistake right there.
Well, yeah, and it's just I gotta go whatever you send through. I gotta get through your thing. But I did the Ben Wilson because I just remembered this stuck in my head that if they ask you what you're sending, you just say hot sauce. So now the two gentlemen at the UPS store at Hypoluxo and Jog right next to your house, they really want to try my hot sauce, and I'm supposed to be bringing them a bottle sometime this week. Because they're like, they go.
You had to develop an entire fucking backstory.
I'm just like, hot sauce, and they're like, oh, and they're like, you make your own hot sauce? I'm like, sure, and they're like, and the guy's like, oh. And I'm like, you like hot sauce? He goes, I'm West Indian. What do you think? And I'm like, oh, gee, I'm in too deep now. I'm in too deep.
Matt.
It was bad.
We've all gone down that road at some point.
It was. Well, I can never go to that UPS store without a bottle of hot sauce.
No. Yes, that's what you do.
So what you do is you just
carry this on.
I think you need to get a hot sauce that you really. I actually found a hot sauce I really like recently, just a few days ago, and you put it into a different bottle, and you make some really shitty ass label, and you take it over to them next time, and then they're just going to be like,
"Well, I was going to make that Mad Dog over there."
Well, no, don't go that. Don't kill him. But I'm just saying, if you took like some hot sauce in your own bottle over there, they would never ever question you ever once again. They'd just be like, "That's my boy."
Be like, oh, that's the guy with the hot sauce.
Yeah, it's a boy
hot
with
sauce
hot
Matt.
Sauce. Yep.
I don't know why they sound like that. Neither one of them sounded like that. Hot sauce Matt.
That's exactly what East Indians sound
Oh
like.
boy, did the racism just get magnifique right there. That was amazing. But so we have Greg on board with us tonight. And what's funny is I knew you had done the pubcast, and I knew you'd done one other, but Greg has actually appeared on 3 New Way podcasts.
Well, I know you like walked in on one.
I don't believe so. Don't look at me like that either.
Oh no, I'm thinking of Chris maybe.
Yeah, episode 14, which is the pubcast.
Mm-hmm.
episode 21, the best of Y2K. I believe that's a Sans. Maybe 2 of them are Sans Ben.
Yeah,
and they involve Casey, Casey Marcus.
Never been.
But we did the best of Y2K where we discussed like Drag Me to Hell and a bunch of other like really interesting movies. And then episode 26 about the ladies, where there was quite a discussion about
mis favoritos.
About the my least favorite.
I was on that. I mean, but
were you on the ladies?
No.
Yes, I was.
No, wrong.
You did Chick Flicks. You did ladies where we talked about my hatred of Sandra Bullock's.
Oh,
I don't think you were on that one.
We've only done one podcast together at the pub. That's it.
Yeah, okay. I think those.
Maybe I'm thinking of Chick Flicks then.
You did we did Chick Flicks together, but so you can listen to 14, 21, or 26 if you want to hear Greg talk on a tin can.
I think I do the cup song a little bit too.
That's on ladies. That's the one you definitely miss ladies because you miss Greg do the cup song from.
I mean, I've listened to every podcast. But
have you guys? I wanted to ask you. Do you guys listen back to the episodes?
I do because I got to produce them. Well,
I typically do. I've missed a couple, I'm sure.
I've
listened to everyone since Nick has been on.
Yeah, I'd be lying if I said that I didn't sometimes put one on, like the one where we had to stop the musicals. We had to stop because Nick had to pee, and I'm like, I'll go fix that before I put it on. And I didn't remember because I was putting that podcast together in Tallahassee after Luke's wedding, and I was listening to it with Mia later that week, and I'm like, there was just a weird cut. I'm like, what the hell was that? Oh yeah, I stopped the podcast so Nick could pee. But don't you try to pull any of that shit.
Yeah, well,
Greg.
I was flying somewhere either. Like pretty much directly after. I mean, I guess it was, it was when I was going to Jersey. I put on the Gadwell Lane podcast just because we were talking about it. Nick and Luke and I were talking about it, and I was just like, you know what? Like I said, didn't sound great at all, but that was actually one of the better ones.
Pretty good episode.
That was pretty fun to listen to, just because it was. Although I think back in 2013, I was just thinking, oh man, Luke, be quiet. And then I listened to it now, and I'm like, oh, Luke's the best part of the fucking podcast.
Yeah, Luke. I mean, Luke kind of brought some gravitas to the episode for sure. I was listening to that one. I did the same thing. I was kind of going back through episodes, and that one caught my ear. So for Greg, since you listened to this as a listener, do you feel that the quality, obviously the sound quality has gone up, do you think that we are suffering from a good indie movie that got a big budget and their sequel came out and it was bloated and sucked, or do you think that we're now able to reach the vision that we were trying for before?
Second thing you said.
Second thing.
Oh, nice.
How's that for leading an answer right there?
Right. let me quote. I wrote this down after I listened to the first episode of the new way. the plus Nick new way, which I was very skeptical about. I want to be honest.
Oh, introducing a third party, the cousin Oliver.
It was like my parents were getting divorced. I didn't like it. I was scared. It was weird. It was new. But
actually, it's more like your parents are introducing somebody else into the bedroom.
Yeah, it's like Big Love,
and they're like, so they're going to be living with us.
This is our new sister wife.
Yeah, that's really gross. I don't like thinking about that at all. But here's what I came up with, and this is honestly how I feel as a huge fan of the podcast. This is an
exclusive right here.
You ready for this? This is how I would describe the podcast, the new version of the podcast, to someone that asked me. This podcast is really well done, for no reason, sometimes.
On a banner.
That is
that underneath Tim McDonald's. You guys are assholes.
Yeah, your review in terms
you guys are the worst.
You guys are the worst. It's just a bunch of assholes talking about movies that no one's ever heard of.
And below that, yeah, I like it.
Well, Greg, we brought you on for this simple reason.
Because some damn fool accused you of being the best.
That's right. That's a little Carl Weathers.
Don't tell me.
All right. I mean, of course, we're gonna have the ubiquitous.
Dylan, you son of a bitch.
Me and Ben are gonna stand up and do a 5-minute handshake pretty soon.
So that is our topic for this crazy podcast, because we've got the manliest man that any of us know, who's got a brawny beard, who is actually the original model for the brawny man. A lot of people don't know that. And some weird gay biker things I've seen, but mainly the brawny man and gay bikers.
Dude, that was one time.
Yeah, I can grow a beard and like wear it for like 7 years, and Greg Klein is just like, yeah, fuck you.
Greg shaved 2 days ago.
I'm like, he's like, yeah, this is a day's growth.
Honestly, I was pissed at my barber last week because he like trimmed it way too short.
Your beard?
Yeah.
Come on, man. You show up with like a freaking bush here. I mean, this is 70s bush on your face.
Oh, it's back. It didn't take long.
That's Greg's beard right now, just kicking the ass of everyone that's here. But we are here to talk about action movies where you might hear a track like this of just explosions and guns and punching,
or not,
or because Ben is involved, we know one of his picks.
I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens.
Is gonna definitely have aliens on here.
You know what?
I recorded that, by the way.
I was gonna bring it up. I was gonna bring it up as a joke and then move on. But you know, since Nick already has a soundbite of doing it, you recorded it on your iPhone or something?
No, I recorded it on this, and then I resampled it to make it sound like it came from somewhere else. But this is me.
I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens.
So that it sounded like I got it. Because I didn't realize he never actually says, I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens, which is a very famous meme for all of you out there. But we're here to talk about action movies. And what I'm very interested after Ben's initial reaction to hearing guns and explosions. And I said that's the sound you might hear in an action movie. And Ben said, maybe not. This is where it's going to get super interesting for us, which is usually where we argue in movies, is what is the criteria of an action movie? And since Greg is our guest, tell me a few things that you feel make something an action movie versus maybe another genre that it could fit in.
So difficult. This is the research that exactly what I was going over the past couple of days, getting prepared expertly for this podcast, obviously.
He always does his work. Always does his homework.
Always. I got so many notes here. Notes on notes. It's super hard to define because action literally crosses 10 different genres. Sci-fi, superhero movies. There's literally 10 that you can fit into the action category.
I can narrow it down for you.
Oh boy!
Here we go.
Well, Ben, it's not an action movie unless it has subtitles in another language, and it was made before 1971.
I actually really agree with Greg. I just have a kind of a funny thing, but like, what's your criteria, Matt? I'm interested in what your criteria.
Well, Greg's right on it, because I basically wrote down my criteria is that it for purposes of this discussion, action is the umbrella for many genres, but to be just a pure, let's say the main genre is action and the subgenre is action, I think it has to be more of the action genre than any of the other things. So most superhero movies I counted out of discussing as action movies.
Thank God.
With one exception.
Me too.
The same thing for adventure movies, so like Indiana Jones.
So that's
Lord of the Rings.
So those are that's an interesting distinction. So actually, here's the one criteria I came up with that I thought was interesting. So these things are not exclusive to action movies, and not, but basically all action movies have to have. If you classify as action, you have to have combat of 3 different types.
Ooh.
It has to be melee combat, which means it is punching, kicking, using things to wield against one another, swords, things along those lines. There you go. It has to be combat with weaponry, which means a lot of shooting, a lot of, that type of thing, whether it is things like that. And it has, or the last, let's stop it, please. Okay.
I'm just going to do that every time you talk and you say something I don't like.
The last is vehicular. So it all has to do with vehicles.
In the car chase.
No, I'm not only just talking about cars. I mean, I'm talking about vehicles.
Car violence.
You could be in a vessel,
giant dildo.
A vessel of some kind that you are moving around and fighting with. I mean, but anyways, so what I think what you guys are saying is that there are so many genres that action also permeates into, which I totally agree with, because I think you have high concept sci-fi, you have actually action drama, you could have all sorts of different things, like action comedy. But what I would say is that any movie that you could classify as action is going to have one of those elements. Vehicular.
It's just like, I feel like it should be followed with manslaughter every time you say it. But in a vessel of some sort, in a vehicle, melee with the hands,
with the hands,
with the hands and the faces.
Yes,
and the other one,
and the other is weaponry. So if you're involving violence and combat with one of those things, I'm not saying that they're all movies that have that stuff are action movies, but just name an action movie that does not have violence or combat of some kind with those three things.
I think you're right, but I think there's something more as far as kind of at least what I was kind of thinking we would focus on. But we can talk about whatever the hell we want to.
That's a broad stroke.
But yeah, for me to be a pure just action movie, I'd say normally plot is secondary, as is dialogue. I think that for most true just action movies, not all of them, it's not about, like, so if you do a superhero movie, you have set pieces, right? Or you do a Bond movie, and we know that, okay, our budget allows for 5 action scenes, and in between those action scenes are large stretches of character development or dialogue or things. I think a lot of true action movies don't have that.
So you're saying Bond movies aren't true action movies?
I put Bond on my.
See, I would say that's a giant fuck you to Bond movies, because I think Bond movies are the epitome of action movies. Because the thing is they are totally reliant on their set pieces. They are reliant on their action. It is all about the action.
James Bond versus Commando in a action set piece.
Actually, James Bond would probably win because he can actually shoot.
He's got gadgets, but it's. I think that there's a mindlessness to a true action movie for me.
So basically what you're doing is you're defining the action movie as just like the brainless, like, hit you over the head. So you're saying Transformers is like a great example of an action movie.
I'm not saying it's a good action movie, but it is an action movie. Because
no, I agree, it's an action movie.
James Bond is a spy movie in the action genre. Just like I think Civil War is a superhero movie in the action genre, and Star Wars is a space odyssey in the action genre. And
I'm not disagreeing with any of that, but the concept. So here's what I'm saying: you would not go to a Bond movie. If you went to a Bond movie, it could be really amazingly well done, like a great character study of Bond, and there were no action pieces. People would flip their fucking lids, because Bond is an action franchise. It is built on set pieces, built on the biggest action spectacles,
except for Casino Royale, that dialed way back on the action.
Casino Royale had one of the greatest boat chase scenes of all fucking time in that movie. You cannot,
I don't even remember the boat chase scene. Where's the boat chase scene?
It's the end of the movie. Oh my god! You cannot ever say that
you're very easy to get to.
No. That actually touches the nerve, and I don't like most of the Bond movies. But Bond is the quintessential. Action movies of the 80s were built on Bond. Period.
I said they're built on Rambo and Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
No, those were 80s movies, man. I'm talking about those 80s movies were built on the set pieces that were created in the 60s and 70s.
Die Hard's built on Bond?
Absolutely.
You ever seen Cobra, bro?
Oh, Cobra is some good shit.
You don't think movies like that were built on Bond and The French Connection and Serpico, like movies that had these like Die Hard?
Serpico, I can see a little bit.
Die Hard was built on movies like French Connection, Serpico, and things like that.
This is the most animated I think I've ever seen you in a podcast. My God,
in addition,
you look at that vein that's coming out right there,
dude. I
mean, it's his dick vein.
I just can't believe it.
Stepped all over that.
You just undermined my entire thesis by saying that Bond movies aren't quintessential action movies.
I'm just having a dialogue. It's okay, big guy.
Let me give you one real life example here. Let's say I go out.
I'm gonna be quiet for a while.
With you. Why don't you be quiet for a little bit? Let's say I go out and have a couple of drinks with friends.
All right.
Come back home, kiss the wife goodnight, and then I'm left to my own devices for the next couple hours. I'm gonna watch TV. I might watch a movie. When I'm in that state, I'm gonna scroll through the movies. The first thing I'm gonna do is sort by action. And you know why?
Nice.
Because I don't want to fucking think. I just want to sit there like a drunken, stupid zombie and be entertained for an hour and a half tops. Because I'm gonna fall asleep in my own urine.
That took a definite downturn, but no, I tend to kind of say
Just look at the. I'm just saying, look at John Wick. You can't say that a movie like that is not built off of James Bond. It absolutely is. I mean, but
John Wick is. I think John Wick is way more Commando than it is James Bond. It's a guy. What's the plot of John Wick?
It's a guy who takes revenge on
because they killed someone kills his dog and he goes out and kills a bunch of fucking people. What's the plot of Casino Royale?
I get what you're going at.
All right, there's a difference between something that it requires your mind to turn on for it, which I think makes it an elevated. Now, what's the plot of Mad Max Fury Road?
Hot, armless broads.
Exactly. Car chase. Get to a place, turn around, car chase.
They're trying to get to the green place.
Yes, and then they get there and it's disappointing.
There's actually quite a bit of plot in Mad Max Fury Road.
But is the plot necessary to enjoying the movie at all? Not at all.
I don't think the plot is necessary to enjoying most Bond movies.
Really?
No.
Oh, yeah.
You think that the plot is necessary to enjoy Thunderball? I mean, that's
first of all, let's not. Okay, Thunderball is one of the few Bond movies that is an action movie because it's so dumb that it falls outside of it.
Thunderball's fun too.
No. Thunderball is not one of my favorites, but I'm playing devil's advocate with you a little bit, but I grew up in the 80s, and 80s action movies were Predator and Commando and Cobra and Rambo and Die Hard.
It was Schwarzenegger as well. It was Schwarzenegger and Stallone.
Now I'd
'80s.
love to argue that Lethal Weapon is an action movie, but that's more of a buddy cop comedy.
No, that's an action movie.
Action movie.
That's straight up action movie.
I think it's in another genre though.
So basically what you're saying is to be an action movie you have to be stupid, which I disagree with.
Yeah, that's why The Matrix is a great action movie and a terrible thinking person's movie.
Come on.
I will absolutely. So The Matrix is the linchpin of my dissertation on this, and that the Matrix starts out as something different, and it devolves into a mindless action movie. And the mindless action movie is fine. I just wish it had just been that the whole time, so I didn't have to deal with all the other shit.
Do you mean throughout the series, or do you mean?
I mean the first Matrix. He doesn't like the first Matrix.
Yeah, that's right. I knew that about him. We can just skip that because you're dumb.
Thank you, Greg Klein.
Greg's a good middle ground for both of our bullshits, but no, this is just for discussion. I think James Bond is definitely it's in the action genre. I think it's a little bit more thinking action than
I'm
it
just
is.
My point was that you're looking at the evolution of the action genre. I mean, the things really started because action movies didn't exist. I mean,
except they did. They were westerns.
Well, exactly. Well, there was the adventure movie, which I'm sure we'll get into, which I think is a clear. I don't believe the true adventure movie is. It's an action. Maybe you could consider it an action movie, but I consider it its own genre completely. Like
I do too.
I'm
well, it's same as so. I think westerns and war movies are their own genres. I don't consider them action movies. So I mean, technically, Saving Private Ryan meets all of your criteria for an action movie. I would not define it as an action movie. It's a war movie.
But what I was talking about is Bond was one of the first series that had these set pieces just to be set pieces. They would set up the narrative literally around an idea of being like a guy's going to be skiing down a slope having 50 guys with bombs following him. And you're like, that sounds awesome. That people would just flock to the theaters to see that. I mean, that's what they were thinking about when they were developing those movies. And then they got to the smart action, like the French Connection.
Yeah.
And
I think it's really it comes down to where is most of the time of the film spent, and I think that's
Bullet and like all the shit. And Vanishing Point, what a fucking awesome car movie.
What's super interesting with this is so I was talking to Nick about the crazy place I worked at before Native Remedies, which I don't know if I talked to you about that or not, but I worked for this crazy guy named Max that was working on this proprietary set-top box thing, right? And the set-top box was going to allow you to watch different versions of a movie you were familiar with. So you could watch, let's say, the romance version of Spider-Man. So let's say you want to put on the Spider-Man DVD, and you're like, I don't care about all this comic book bullshit, but I kind of like the geeky guy and the girl storyline. And so we would edit together these movies in a way that removed most of the action scenes, so it only focused on the characters and the romance, right?
Which that particular example is like the worst movie of all time.
The worst.
I was gonna say this guy failed.
I really wanted to kill myself after working.
No,
on that
he
one,
was.
but
I think I swear it's still drugs or something.
He's got his things now an app, and apparently it's doing some movie theater shit. It's weird. The guy owns the patent on chapter technology on DVDs and Blu-rays. Like, he created the idea that I can skip to a certain moment, and then he beat Time Warner, who tried to use it without paying for his patent. And they're like, no, this guy in the 90s foresaw that this was going to be a thing. Said, no, I'm making the idea of splitting a movie into sections a thing, whatever. But this company, I had to work on Action and Action X versions of movies. And what was very fascinating is that he had this whole like proprietary map, like a guide of how you were supposed to cut these things. And what was really fascinating to me when I was thinking about this podcast was all of the shit that I was not allowed to put into an action movie. And it's a lot of the stuff you said, but the big one was that no amount of sex was allowed into any of the action ones. You couldn't see it. That's why no one could ever work on Fast and Furious. Because he goes, and this guy, he was a foreign guy. He's like, but the men who want to watch the action movie, as soon as he sees the ass, he's now like, I've got to fuck my wife. And now I'm lost from the movie. I wanted to just watch the action. And I was like, geez. And he literally, if there was just a fucking like hot girl in the corner, he's like, that's it. Now he's fucking his wife and he's not watching our movie. And we're like, what the fuck, dude? And I had to cut.
What the fuck, dude? Literally.
I had to cut Casino Royale. And there's a part where they're on the boat, on that yacht, and the girl's getting out of the water, and I had to cut around the shot of her getting out of the water and getting on the boat, because he's like, no, that's where he's going to fuck his wife now. Now he goes to, and I'm like, all these guys are married that are watching this. I don't think that's the case, but interesting enough that sex was not allowed in his action movie universe.
Which I think is almost kind of, I wouldn't say quintessential in the action,
but I was going to say.
But it is.
Titties.
It is a big part.
I think bare breasts have to appear for it to be a true action movie. Counts out all of your Bond movies.
Where do bare breasts appear in Die Hard?
Commando?
Die Hard. Is there a part of the party?
Ooh. Don't they have isn't there the Dirty Magazine?
Yeah, no, they're fucking at the party in Die Hard.
No. I know that
isn't there a porno mag in
the
it?
limo driver is looking through a porno mag.
Yep, exactly. Titties. Told you.
Okay.
Try to prove me wrong again there, Benny. Commando. Titties, a girl with titties in the middle of an action scene.
Hey, I wasn't going to bring it up, but Aliens, no titties.
I was just going to say, I don't think Predator had titties either.
Oh, that's right. Predator. It just has a really good vagina joke in it, though.
Yeah, there you go.
Man, that's a big pussy. Why'd
you say it twice?
I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens.
That's true. Right, so Aliens, action movie or sci-fi?
No, it's an action movie.
It's an action movie. I give you that one.
No, I mean, it's an action sci-fi, but that's the thing. Like I said, action movies can be other things too. But I consider Aliens an action sci-fi, but the action's first. Just like I would consider a film like I said, like Bullet or French Connection. I would consider those like action dramas or like action mystery or action suspense, but they're action first because
it's almost always action something.
They're built around those big set pieces. They're built around like those big conflicts and stuff like that. And a a lot of time also, and this is a completely different side of it, but the innovation, because hasn't been a lot of innovation in the action space. First Blood was really a big game changer, because First Blood, I think First Blood's the thing that took it from what Bond was into the 80s. I mean, First Blood was 78, 79? Mm-hmm. And so we're talking about a movie that was basically just social commentary, but ended up being kind of the quintessential, like, oh, this dude's just badass and just gonna kill every fucking guy he sees.
And it's interesting because that's not really an action. It's not action until it gets to its climax.
Exactly. It's not action until it gets almost halfway through the movie. I mean, the whole thing's supposed to be whatever, but it gave birth to...
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at Rambo 3 is like one of the perfect action movies. I mean, that movie is just like mindless, fucking dumb action.
Plot of Rambo 3, Rambo goes killing people. That's it.
No.
That's all I go.
I told you you're done with this.
that was I think Ben's having a stroke. Or that was a Stallone.
I'm done with this.
So Greg,
I know CPR.
I don't do it anymore.
So everyone seems to always want to say that Die Hard is the best action movie ever made. And I don't feel that that's my favorite action movie. Do you have like a favorite or a stable of favorites for you?
Point Break.
Ooh,
fuck yeah,
yeah.
Stop being silly and let's talk about Point Break.
God damn! Why did I not pull up any sound bites? Just Gary Busey saying, "I want a shit sandwich."
An FBI agent.
That was pretty fucking good, man.
Point Break.
I need two.
It's a lot better than my Stallone.
You made up for it immediately.
Point Break.
I can do Keanu.
Delivers on every single thing that I feel makes a great, just mindless action movie. Pretty much there, 100%.
But once again, it's under the precipice of it trying to be a smarter movie than it actually is.
It can try all at once.
It's dumb as shit.
It is dumb as shit.
It's terrible. But how does it make you feel?
Oh,
is the better
alive.
question.
I mean,
for the first time in my life,
Gary. I mean, how does any movie with Gary Busey make you feel? It just makes you feel.
So
like
I'll be honest. It's not Busey that I fell in love with the first time I watched it. I mean, I was pretty much in love with Patrick Swayze after Dirty Dancing, but Point Break is where I was like, oh, he's a slut too, and I like it. I'm all about it. I'm all on it right there.
You know,
Swayze. I'm crazy for the Swayze.
I was never on the Swayze train.
What?
Wow.
No. All through my
you
adolescence.
ever want to grab that mullet and just
no.
Just hang 10?
Actually, you know what? I gained such a better appreciation for Swayze as I got older in life.
Darko?
No. Well, Darko was one of the big ones, yeah. But Swayze, his ability to make fun of himself as he got a little bit older, I was just like, man, this guy's really cool. And now when I watch his movies in retrospect, like I watch Ghost, I'm like, he's not bad in Ghost.
Swayze's not bad in anything. Why do you say it like he's bad in Roadhouse? You gonna tell me that's bad? Ripping throats? There's no MacGruber without
Roadhouse is like a movie.
Roadhouse.
This shows you how much of a film snob I was. I saw Roadhouse when I was like 12, and I was just like, this movie is shit. And now I'll watch Roadhouse and be like, this movie is fucking awesome.
Roadhouse action movie.
Roadhouse
and
action
no vehicular manslaughter in it.
But there's Melee.
There is Melee.
Tons.
And there's extra titties to make up for the vehicular manslaughter.
I didn't say they had to have all three. I said that they have to be.
Oh, I thought it had to have all three to make it.
No.
Okay.
I'm saying they have to be based around one of those three concepts.
That makes it a lot easier.
Let me float this out here for you. Because I got stuck up on the Western thing. Irked me a little bit. Because I feel like Western is a subgenre of whatever genre they're really under. There could be a drama. A Western...
Yeah.
Western is the
no.
All right, hold on.
Okay,
well, let him talk. Let the man talk.
I'm gonna let him talk.
Tombstone.
Ooh,
one of my favorite movies of all time.
Action movie.
You brought down the thunder. Well, now you got it.
Well, so here's the thing about Tombstone. Tombstone came out in the 90s. Western genre was created in the 20s. The Western genre was a well-established genre all the way.
Listen to this mansplaining happening right here. My
No.
God.
He went to film school.
The only person, the person who's responsible for bringing action, I feel like, there are moments of action in all Western movies. But Sergio Leone was the one who brought in kind of the very hyper intense action, and then other people took it to the next level. Eastwood, for example. Eastwood was trying, like, I would not consider a movie like
Seven Brides for Seven Brothers.
I was trying to think of.
Sorry.
I was gonna say Unforgiven. I don't think Unforgiven is an action movie. I consider it a western.
Yeah.
Tombstone is an action movie.
Yes.
Like, then you have some really strange movies, like a movie like 2003, Open Range. First 8 nights of that movie, western. Last 20 minutes, action movie. But
Bone Tomahawk,
which is torture porn.
It turns into a horror movie at the end. I agree with you. It's sort of what I was saying. Is I think, and it's interesting that westerns really are almost outside of the action spectrum because there's so much other stuff going on with them.
I think so.
But Tombstone's an action movie, right?
Yeah. That's what I said.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Doing the research for this podcast, you can't find Tombstone anywhere on top action movies of all time. Whatever.
That's fucking bullshit.
I'm saying that's. It seems egregious.
And you know what's funny? So Tombstone,
some of the greatest lines of all time.
Tombstone,
because that's another thing.
But it's just how it's being categorized.
What is another hallmark of a great action movie? Is you have to have catchphrases
yes.
or call lines.
Yes,
and I mean, like, what dude has not been like, you tell him I'm coming, you tell him hell's coming with me? I mean, come on. Or like, I say it still to this fucking day, and I'm not like the biggest Tombstone. Or like I say to this day, but like anytime somebody asks, "Oh, who will volunteer for something?" I'll be a Huckleberry.
I knew
I'm a Huckleberry.
It's the best line of all time.
Now it's interesting. Tombstone action movie. Wyatt Earp, not an action movie. Wyatt Earp is the dramatic Western storytelling of Wyatt Earp, and Tombstone is the action movie telling of Wyatt Earp.
And the crazy thing is, Wyatt Earp's also a very good movie. Like, it's not bad. It's Kevin Costner doing his Western version.
We could spend a whole podcast talking about Best Doc Holiday between Dennis Quaid and...
No, it's Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
It's Val Kilmer.
Just because he got like so tuberculosis thin for that, which is really hot. I mean, that was like a lot of models were doing TB thin at that time.
No,
so.
I mean, Quaid was not bad, but Kilmer kind of had the Kilmer
the showier
Kilmer
version.
had the. It wasn't that he had the chops for it, but he just had the look and the right delivery. I mean, like Quaid's a great actor. I think Quaid's actually a really underrated actor. But
to allude to another amazing action movie, Heath Ledger, greatest Joker of all time. Go fuck yourself, Jared Leto.
Wait, are you gonna call The Dark Knight an action movie?
100%. What is it?
You know what? I'm actually not against Greg on this one because
Heat action movie.
Yes.
Did you say Heat?
Heat is an action
movie. That like 10-minute scene in a diner of two old men talking to each other.
You apparently don't remember the 3 other action scenes besides the long 40-minute action scene at the end of the movie.
Sure, but the movie's like 7 hours long, and the majority of the movie is people just talking.
It's actually 3 hours and 2 minutes long.
Whoa. Dick.
Film school.
Jeez. Ben just whipped his film school dick out across the face.
I don't
right there, just doing it like that, Tallahassee style.
Listeners, I'm not 100% sure it's 3 hours and 2 minutes long. Just go along with me here.
It's a long fucking movie.
It is a long movie.
And one of the oddly enough, one of the movies I had to try to turn into an action version because the plane did not have enough action in it to warrant an action movie.
But the climax of that movie is a 30-minute scene that it all revolves around one scene, and that is the climax. That is the point of the movie, and it is one of the greatest action sequences of all time. I cannot call that movie not an action movie.
Do you know there's a 30 minutes after that? At least 30 minutes after that scene.
Yep.
30 minutes of...
But when you have the greatest action sequence of all time inside of your movie, how do you stray away from calling it an action movie?
It's like saying, is Old Boy an action movie? is
first of all, it's got subtitles, so no.
Okay, speaking of Battle Royale.
Okay, Battle Royale, definitely action. Actually, Battle Royale is that's the one thing. To be an action movie, you should be able to do it in another language and it still works. I should be able to sit through an entire film. Yeah, actually, that's a true action movie without knowing a word of dialogue.
Yeah. And you could watch Battle Royale and completely understand what's going on.
I could not do that with Heat. I could not do that with Dark Knight. Well, maybe Dark Knight, I guess.
No,
but it's superhero. But I could do it with Point Break. I don't need words for Point Break. I can see how crazy Gary Busey is just by looking at him. It's amazing.
Weed, man. That's all.
Yeah. What other ones made you have really interesting ones on your list, I gotta say.
You want to know the greatest action movie of all time?
Oh boy.
You guys want to know?
What?
You're curious, aren't you?
It might not be mine, but
300 is the greatest action movie of all time.
Ooh,
it just is.
It's the most actioniest movie of all time.
Yeah, from the standpoint of what our criteria is,
Matt's criteria specifically.
Yes, you cannot go past because that movie is nothing but action.
I mean, they want so much action that they spray painted abs onto people to make it more actiony. I mean, that's dedication to your art right there. I agree. I can't argue that it's the most action.
And Zack Snyder was just sitting there. He's like, "Give me more abs."
That's right. It's just slapping it on all of them. I can't. I don't enjoy the movie, to be honest. But
it's okay. You don't have to enjoy it. You just have to accept the fact that it's the best action movie.
I have two sides of my favorite action movie of all time. One is my favorite completely dumb, idiotic action movie, which is always going to be Commando. Commando it was the first big one that I saw. It's got young Alyssa Milano, who was at the same age I was at that time. It's when my crush began with her. It is mindless. It's got a dumb female sidekick that they throw in for no reason other than the studio had decided that's what you did in action movies at the time. It's a ridiculous movie, and it's chock full of one-liners from Stallone. I mean, it's just ripe with them. But my favorite action movie that's also actually a pretty amazing film when you look at it is RoboCop.
Yep.
And I think RoboCop just fucking delivers on all of the dumb action shit. But if you want to pay attention a little bit more
it's high,
and look at the satire,
high social satire.
You're like, oh shit, this is actually a really kind of a crazy. But it's
Starship Troopers is the same way. I mean, like a lot of people just when it came out shit on Starship Troopers, and I watched this. I was like, this. I was like 15 years old and reading these reviews and was just like, do these guys not get it? Like, it's obviously just making fun of like the political climate and like the climate of the way that people interact around the world.
You said that like Nelson Mandela, the political climate.
Put it on the slur sophisticate.
Diplomatic community.
Actually, that's the fourth hallmark of a good action movie, is that at some point diplomatic immunity should come up as a free get out of jail card at some point.
Well,
diplomatic immunity. It's another good soundbite.
Anyways, no,
what's your like favorite other? I mean, I guess a Bond movie.
No, I actually wasn't going to bring up a Bond. I was going to bring up Bond as like the standard be all, get all, and the things that led to all of the action movies.
And a lot of STDs.
Well, I have the greatest action movie of all time, and my most underrated and least talked about that nobody really cares about anymore action movie.
Never Ending Story? No?
I thought about it. And the best action movie of all time is Aliens. No, I'm just fucking kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not going there.
He's not kidding.
I'm not getting there. No,
I think contractually obligated to talk about Aliens once every two podcasts.
But literally, I am same director. I think the greatest action movie of all time is True Lies.
Ooh.
I think True Lies is such a amazing action movie because it has so many great set pieces. You could understand me. It's dumb. It has so many great catch lines, but it's also just got heart and story and like some of the funniest comedic moments of any action movie I've ever seen. I love True Lies. I think True Lies is the pinnacle.
It's
sitting
on my list because I think it is probably it's the most enjoyable actiony movie. My one. I see. This is where I got caught up in my own bullshit. is I was like, it's too funny and it's too Bond-like to be a true action movie for me. And I had it on my list. I'm like, I'm
not beholden to those.
But you're right. It is
to that criteria.
This is a good discussion. Is True Lies the most satisfying action movie easily of the 90s? But maybe of all time.
I cannot think of a better action movie. Period. I mean, like in my opinion, and this is
it delivers on every set piece. It delivers on every gag, on every joke. It
great performances across the board.
Jamie Lee Curtis is maybe the only non-cringe-worthy female character
protagonist,
other than the fact that and I defended it for a long time, but I had a lot of friends that were like, yeah, True Lies is great except for that insufferable 10-minute sequence of interrogation with her in the middle of the movie.
I actually like that
which
scene.
I defended a lot, but a lot of people shit hard on
like that
scene. Mrs. Tasker.
No. She's lying.
Tom Arnold, amazing in that movie.
I should have known since we do the do it Ducey model. Do it very slowly.
Yeah, every time, like in my office, like when one of my coworkers is always like, he's like, do it. I would go, do it, Ducimo. Do it very slowly.
And Ben and I bonded over that because for years I had no idea what he was saying, and I thought he was saying Dewey Decimal, and I didn't understand why he was going Dewey Decimal. Do it very slowly. I'm like reading a Dewey Decimal System. I don't understand.
Do you want to know what I think is a very underrated action movie that I think is also, I wouldn't call it perfect by any means.
Was it made in this century?
It was made in this century.
Oh, okay.
But wasn't very talked about. But is
Snowpiercer?
No. But I think it's no. I think it qualifies. It's a little. I guess you could say it's a little higher concept than a straight action movie. But for all intents and purposes, it is an action movie. It was the 2005 remake of Assault on Precinct 13
Great flick.
Ethan Hawke, Maria Bello, Lawrence Fishburne. Did you see that movie?
See it. Is it Berg? Not Berg. Who directed that?
No. It was. I don't even know the guy.
It's somebody. I thought it was somebody big.
Don't do that.
No, but it was that is a movie, dude. If you want to watch a mindless action movie,
I do.
It's pretty
awesome. Fucking fantastic.
I don't know how that escaped me, but
dude, it's one of those movies. It's like it has a very simple plot, and it like spends the first 15 minutes just saying, "Here's who these characters are. Here's what's happening," and the next bit is, Gabriel Byrne is the villain.
Yeah,
it's fucking awesome. Like, I mean, there is not a moment in that movie where I was just not like, I am not completely.
Yeah, you're right. Directed by some Frenchie that did nothing else.
Right?
I mean, he did a bunch of things I've never heard of before.
What year are we talking about here?
2005.
Huh?
And it's so
fantastic.
Good. It's so fucking good. It has one of the greatest. The moment between Gabriel Byrne and Maria Bello in the snow.
Yeah.
Like one of the most unexpected. This is pre-Dark Knight. Like. Unexpected, just like okay. Like, I mean, I was just like, what? I was like, wow, I'm watching a different type of.
That was
one
of the ones that my brother and I, like, back when we would do our weekend, drinking and smoking as much as we possibly could and watching silly movies. That one got on there. It was one of the ones that we were like, I'll just put it on the background, and we're riveted watching it.
Dude, it's so good.
Now I have a question. Now there might be some people listening to this podcast that are maybe not our age, maybe like Crespo's age, about 10 years younger than us or whatever he is.
He's 19.
We haven't talked about a movie. He's 19 going on 18. But we haven't talked about an action movie that seemed to sort of define kind of the millennial mindset in the late 90s, early 2000s. I guess it was 2000s. Which is Boondock Saints. What is everyone's opinion on the Boondock Saints in this room? I know you're not a fan, right?
What are you talking about?
Are you a fan?
I unequivocally love the first Boondock Saints. I think it gets completely unwarranted hate.
Huh.
I don't think it's the smartest movie of all time. But
no, it's an action movie.
It's supposed to be dumb.
Yeah, it's a dumb action movie.
It's supposed to be funny. And the fact that, like, Troy Duffy got to go for the gusto and actually, I mean, like, yeah, everyone, the concept of Boondock Saints was ruined by Troy Duffy. It was ruined by Overnight. It was ruined by his reputation. Mm-hmm. Everyone thinks that he's a dick, which he is. But the movie itself is funny. Like, I laugh. I laughed when I saw it.
Yeah.
And I think that there's
Defoe just kills it.
And Defoe kills it, and there's some legitimately good action sequences. So yeah, I'm
Are you
a
Boondock fan?
I got introduced to that movie in 2001 at my friend's house. Never heard of it before this. Went over there, bought weed because he was my weed dealer. This wasn't a coincidence. And he insisted that we watch this movie. And I was like,
This is like your Pineapple Express.
Maybe. And God, I don't know if it was just because the state of mind I was in, but I love that movie. I think I need to watch it again.
You know what? I've revisited it a few times, and I like it. The awful follow-ups to it were just that. They were just terrible.
I didn't watch any of those.
The first movie, it was one of those. It became like it was like The Ring, like someone who's like, I got a tape of this movie, you gotta watch this thing, it's really, really good.
Right,
and
that's how this guy presented it to me.
And my old roommate Spencer looks exactly like what's his name, the Walking Dead one of them, Norman Reedus. Like they're doppelgangers for one another. So he was like, of course I've seen it because I see everything. And this is like 2005. It's like, I've seen everything Norman Reedus has done. I'm like, oh, Boondock Saints and
8mm.
8mm action movie? No. I mean, this is very dumb.
There's lots of action in that movie.
Look, Bond movies are action movies. No one goes to a Bond movie because they're looking for like a thinking whatever on it. But yeah, I think it's kind of interesting because there really was that heyday of pure action movies in the 80s, and the only ones doing it now are ones that are compared to movies from the 80s, like John Wick. John Wick succeeds because everyone's like, this is like an old school.
I feel like one of the ironic things about there was a death of those 80s movies, and like one of the contributing factors of that was Last Action Hero, a movie that makes fun of 80s action movies.
And I love that fucking movie.
Awesome, and it's so tongue-in-cheek, and that movie
super underrated.
And that movie bombed, and everyone was just like, "Oh, it's another of that type of action movie," and then it died. Like, look at when that movie was released, and look at the true action movies that came out after that.
So I'll go one further, and I'll say the star of that movie pinpointed the death of action movies, and you know what he pinpointed it on, right?
What?
1989's Batman, and he goes, well, it's fine. You can go ahead and put a guy in a rubber suit now, and it doesn't matter if they work out and they look like a bodybuilder and they're a big, intimidating guy. They don't need to anymore. And his thing was like, congratulations, you killed the action genre.
No. But see, that's bullshit, though, because action... you killed the 80s action genre.
Yes.
We're completely discrediting all the stuff that was happening in Hong Kong and with martial arts.
First of all, nothing was happening in Hong Kong until I started watching those movies in 2000.
Okay.
So I don't know anything that was going on in the 80s.
You want to see a badass... Okay.
Enter the fucking dragon.
But so here's that kind of other side of like, oh, you shouldn't be able to pay attention. There's a movie that came out in 1998 called Time and Tide. It's a movie from Hong Kong, which has like 8 or 9 of some of the coolest action sequences that were ever filmed at that time. I mean, at one point they had literally rigged, just from the filmmaking standpoint, a guy jumped out of a window and they had rigged the Steadicam operator on a thing so he could jump out of the window with him and free fall with him. I mean, like these guys were like
which they used to get in Civil War.
No, it was like some unreal shit. And some of these action sequences were filmed just, I mean, like the choreography, like, and this we're talking about melee fighting, gun fighting, like just fucking shit going all over the plot was super complicated, and it was like jumping back and forth between time frames. So you were just like, wait, what the fuck am I watching? Like, wait, where are we? And so I do think that for me, Time and Tide, that's a movie that's like 2/3 populated by action. It's an action movie, but it's really hard to follow if you're not paying attention to the plot, which is why I will say I don't think that a true action movie has to be something that you just mindlessly, turn your mind off to and just
like
say
I said, I'm being painting in broad strokes.
Yes, of course. But I'm just saying I would never discredit a movie like that has like a really high level of artistic merit. I mean, and so much like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon's a fucking action movie.
I was gonna say
that's a fucking action movie.
Yeah, it is.
It's really an artsy Hong Kong.
It's an action movie. It's a kung fu action movie.
Any
people
kung fu
flying?
movie is action
No.
movie.
You know what? No, I'm gonna call bullshit. I'm gonna ask you to
You're
pick.
discrediting an entire like culture right now.
I'm going. Yes, 100%. I'm gonna ask you to take 5 man's man guys, just guys that are not film guys that just and go. I'm gonna take you to an action movie, and you're gonna take them to see Commando, and you're gonna take them to see Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And I'll tell you why I know that this is a fact, because I went with my 3 roommates in college.
I took one of them who had never seen a subtitled movie ever to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
You're gonna make me bring something up from your past that you're not gonna be happy with. But,
no.
Ben is also the same person that submitted Braveheart as a chick flick in our chick flick discussion many episodes ago. So I just want to let you know who you're what kind of a madman you're dealing with. A man that just wants to watch the world burn. This man tried to convince me that Braveheart is a chick flick. I just no. And I think Crouching Tiger is way too arty for most action fans.
But you can.
You think Timmy McDonald's gonna like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon?
Why not?
Dude,
he's gonna sit through 2.5 hours of arty stuff and people flying up, bouncing on trees.
This is true. That movie is not 2.5 hours long.
No. You can look at
that's a long movie.
Painting.
No, it's not.
And enjoy it.
Felt like a long movie.
I'm sure it felt like a long movie to you. You angry.
I like that movie. I'm not an angry hater. I am not. I like The Ice Storm. It's a good action movie. I mean, it sounds like it's the name.
It's
of
a good action movie only just because Sigourney Weaver shows up in it scantily clad,
starring Howie Long, right? Ice Storm. That's the movie we're talking about, right?
No.
I'm gonna have to find out how. Oh, how long is it?
127 minutes. Guessing.
You're just guessing that because of that movie where that guy chews his arm off. But it's you're all close. It's 120 minutes. It's exactly 2 hours.
Exactly 2 hours.
2 hours. Look, I still think that the average action fan did not. They're not lining up to watch Crouching Tiger again.
Like my freshman roommate, I remember I brought that DVD and we were like moving into my freshman room.
Like, let me show you a kick-ass movie.
No, but we were like loading shit in, and he had like stuff like Biodome and Road Trip and stuff like that. And I had like my mom was like Eraserhead, like Clerks, like a bunch of fucking shit.
Biodome and Eraserhead might be the greatest double feature I think I've ever heard of in my entire life.
Sorry we didn't bring that one up.
I think you smoke all the weed and you watch Biodome and Eraserhead and you realize at the end of it that Biodome is the deeper movie.
But he literally, and this is a guy I like I became really good friends with, but he was just like, he saw me pull out Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. He goes, what the fuck do you have that movie? And I was just like, well, no, it's a great movie. He was like, well, why are they flying around all over the place?
And sorry, Dan, I don't know if you actually listened to those. We sort of reconnected, but Dan Moskowitz, one of my roommates, when I went to UF. So Dan and Howard and Casey and I. Casey was like kind of into arty film stuff, so he was mostly on board. You've met Howard. Howard was kind of on the fence. Dan was just like, what the fuck is it? And he just kept turning to us and be like, what the fuck is going on? Like, and he goes, they have superpowers? And we're like, well, no. He's like, but everybody's flying. I don't understand. Like, he was so angry that the rules weren't established in the action movie. And he was just like, I don't understand. He's like, I don't understand why everyone's just flying around on branches. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm like, not an action movie. So, any final thoughts, Greg?
Well, we never talked about Top Gun, which upsets me a tiny little bit. I know it's become a little cliche.
Vehicular.
Mm-hmm.
Vehicular.
Melee. That guy spills coffee on himself. That's a little bit hand to hand.
Right.
It's got some titties in it.
I mean, I don't know how that doesn't.
I mean, so
it's really a great movie.
Was Top Gun like the? Because I'm kind of thinking about it, was Top Gun like the height of bringing everyone together into an action movie? Like Top Gun was, I think, one of those ones in the 80s that stands out that men and women alike literally came together watching it. But I mean, came together to get behind that movie because it wasn't just a guy's movie. Look, that volleyball scene is not for the men that are watching. Well, I mean, it might be a little bit. All right, so
for me is what it is.
Might be a little bit, but that movie was very much transcended. I think across the lines. I think it was the one that kind of got a lot of people over.
Across the lines.
Across the streams. That is a good one. God, I missed a lot of these that are on your list.
Greg. This is my life.
Yeah, what else? So what else is on your sad and going home to watch these things before I fall asleep?
Did you say sad? What happened?
You said you were sad sometimes. You just want to like pee yourself and watch a movie.
That's exactly.
Wait, are you excited for the Top Gun impending sequel?
That's gonna happen.
Yeah,
it's happening.
I feel
Tom Cruise is playing same character, but like now
he's the instructor.
Now he's the instructor, and like.
But you know he's got to strap himself to a fucking jet at some point. I mean that's Tom Cruise.
You know he's got to have some sort of fucking crazy stunt that he's got to do. At this point, he's just one-upping himself until he dies.
Yeah.
He's gonna fly one of those jets through the ocean in underwater, and he's gonna do it. And like, I'm gonna hold my breath for 18 minutes.
They're gonna be like, "We need a stuntman for that." He's like, "No,
nope. I hate my life. I just keep trying to die. None of these stunts kill me.
Nope. He's gonna find himself a fucking motorcycle. I'll tell you that much.
Oh yeah, he's got to have a motorcycle in the sunset, right?
No choice, of course.
Oh yeah.
Find a Tom Cruise movie without a motorcycle.
Well, you know that Val Kilmer
doesn't run.
Val Kilmer has said, "Please put me in anything. I'll do this again." Even though he rallied so much against the original.
Ugh.
You know why Val Kilmer did the first Top Gun? You ever watched the Top Gun documentary?
Yes, I know why he did it.
It's an amazing documentary, but Val Kilmer was in a relationship with Cher, signed a 3-picture deal with Paramount, and was contractually obligated to do the movie or he was going to get sued. And they forced him to do it. And he was like, well, fine, I'm going to fucking be ridiculous in it. And of course, it only made it better that he was ridiculous in it. But
Val Kilmer.
So good.
It's super hot.
Unless you got, give us some more, man.
Yeah, more. Let me see.
Top Gun. Fuck, how did Top Gun escape my list?
Kill Bill.
Kill Bill action in an action movie that does every genre of action movie.
Well, we already talked about Mad Max too. Like,
yeah.
I mean, the Road.
That has to be.
I was gonna say like the Road Warrior was like the quintessential, like the vehicle. I won't say vehicular anymore. The vehicle based movie for a long time. Although there were great movies like French Connection and stuff like that, but then of course Fury Road came out. I mean, and just kind of added on.
Fury Road kind of did Fury Road sort of kill the old Mad Max?
It killed Road Warrior.
It definitely killed Road Warrior.
No, Mad Max isn't an action movie until the last 20 minutes.
It's just a weird Australian movie.
Yeah, it's just a very, very strange post-apocalyptic Australian movie.
It's the same thing Christopher Nolan did to the earlier Batmans. He destroyed them. There's only 3 Batmans, as far as I'm concerned.
You consider you putting Batfleck on there now?
Say what now?
Wait, are you eliminating the 1989 Keaton Burton?
I love that movie.
That movie's so good.
Childhood, but Dark Knight and Batman Begins.
I think that movie's far better than Batman Begins. I won't say it's better than Dark Knight.
It is a.
You won't say that Nicholson is better than like that terrible. Bad villain reveal.
There's no good villain in Batman Begins, but Batman Begins is the best Batman that exists. It's a true Batman.
If you were going to tell someone to watch a series of Batman movies, which one would you pick?
Well, the series, I would say the Nolan films because they're consistent.
I don't consider the original ones even a series, unless you talk about Batman Returns.
Well, but Batman. If you're talking about if you say Batman Returns, I will pick those two over the Nolan films.
I love Batman Returns as a shit show,
but
it's a bad movie.
I'm going to go back on that. Wait, Batman Returns is what?
Batman Returns is a shit show of a movie. It's an entertaining shit show.
It's a great movie.
It is a wildly uneven, crazy movie.
Yeah, it's Tim Burton going all crazy. Tim Burton on his
flirting
with
Catwoman and making like weird double entendres in that room for a fucking kids comic book movie.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
It's weird fucked up movie.
I will not argue with you on that.
It's entertaining. It's super entertaining.
I like that movie a lot. I really do like that movie.
I think it's the same way I like Hook. Hook is entertaining to me. Hook is a bad movie, but it's an entertaining bad movie.
Hook's not a bad movie.
Hook is a bad movie.
We've made this argument many times.
We've had this. So wait, Greg has not made this argument with me.
No,
Hook is a bad movie.
Hold on, I'm gonna take my shirt off.
We're running. Okay, so our time we are really running long here, but I want to hear.
Barely running long.
Oh, thank God Ben talked about the time. Because
see, if I didn't have that up there, that wouldn't have happened. He makes fun of me every time.
Actually,
I have a clock on
so
here.
What we're going to do is the next minute is just going to be sound effects because Greg's going to take his shirt off. So is Matt, and then they're just going to like sumo wrestle right here.
So much man.
Dylan, you son of a bitch. Some damn fool accused
See,
you
all
being
of these
the
things
best.
together just sound like a bad gay porn.
No such thing.
Wait, hold on.
Stupid
This
asshole.
is this sound though. This is real. This is Greg whipping out his dick. All right,
Okay.
we will save our Hook and Batman Returns. Okay, so we'll decide our next. We've been long discussing rose-colored glasses as a podcast theme, and I think Greg has proven his mettle tonight to say when we have Nick Santorum back in studio, we bring Greg back in.
God bless.
I'm gonna put this out to the audience right now. We are gonna create the quintessential, the hallmark podcast on rose-colored glasses and member berries porn
Of things. Oh yeah, there we go.
Of things of days gone past.
There you go.
So you better fucking tune in again because you know your dick got a little hard listening to that.
You're gonna
just
get
a little bit.
You're gonna get. It's gonna make you feel good.
It's gonna make you feel good.
Oh, good for you.
So we thank Greg for being in studio with us. Let's have a round of applause
cheers.
for Greg.
Cheers to Mr.
Was
Greg
it
Klein.
magical
Thank
for you in the new format?
I just love you guys so much.
Oh, what a mensch. That's not just a Jewish thing, but it's good. We thank you so much for listening to The New Way. We will be back hopefully in a week with another new episode, or it might be 3 weeks. We're averaging about an episode every 2 weeks, so
We'll see how it goes.
fucking deal with it. A new way is better than no new way, and no new way is not that bad either. So just deal with it. Thanks for listening. I'm Matt.
Ben.
Greg.
And here are your strippers for tonight's entertainment. Peace.
Peace.